Everybody, we are back. If you're seeing this, we are on. We're just waiting a few minutes for a few more people to come back in. If you're wondering who the person who has been behind the scenes running the entire tech of the show, it is Alex Millar to my right, and Alex is the host of the next segment. So it is my pleasure. Oh, we're going to see Simon Blakely come in with some water. If you just see that hand from on the screen. Oh, there you go. Perfect. The mysterious water delivery. If you have this in your own home or home office, I highly recommend someone to bring you fresh water. So it is my pleasure to introduce Alex Millar, who is our newest recruit here at Rethink Green, and what a great start she has made, helping us update and refine our program materials so we can better communicate our work with you, our audience, and membership. Alex has taken on the role.
I didn't write that.
I was about to ask you, did you write this?
No,
I
didn't.
Yeah. Alex is great. Is it weird I'm singing your own compliments beside you?
Yeah, a little bit.
Now Alex has taken the role of sustainability officer and comes to us with an armoury of qualifications. Who's the word armoury?
I didn't write the word armoury.
Okay, this is good. This is good. She has a Bachelor of Arts in Science and Sustainability, Science and Society at McGill University, and a Master's in Science Communication at LU. As a climate activist, Alex is passionate about environmental justice and making the complexities and realities of climate science and public health accessible for all audiences. That really goes back to that sort of climate literacy that we were talking about earlier in the previous panel. Her research experience includes exploring how elements of narrative and storytelling in academic articles about climate change influence article popularity. And more recently, in her master's research, Alex conducted a rhetorical analysis of COVID-19 public health communication in BC. Definitely a lot of very current and relevant stuff. So we are actually very excited for Alex to present our next segment about the circular economy with a lot of takeaways from the recent World Circular Economy Conference. I think that was the name of it.
Yep, World Circular Economy Forum.
Oof, good stuff. All right, well, I'm going to step away and let Alex take the show. And after, just let you know, after that, we will be doing a segment on Canadian-made solutions. And one final shout out, thank you to Salute once again, where we are filming for this wonderful space and wonderful lunch we just had. So shout out to the local businesses that we're working with. Anyway, here's Alex.
Thanks, Dave. And you're right, that was a little weird listening to you read my bio while I'm sitting right next to you. Anyways, well, I'll get right to it. I won't have to introduce myself again, but I am the greenest hire at Rethink Green. I'm the new sustainability officer, and I serve as an additional point of contact on the team alongside Simon, who spoke earlier, and I can help you with all things Green Economy North and smart green communities. So before I get started, I did want to take an opportunity again to acknowledge that I'm presenting to you today on Indigenous lands. Although we did do a land acknowledgement this morning, I wanted to offer you another resource to help us all take our land acknowledgements beyond, routine scripts about truth and reconciliation. So the Truth and Reconciliation Commission was formed as a means of reckoning with the devastating legacy of residential schools. And from 2008 to 2014, the commission heard stories from thousands of residential school survivors. And in 2015, it released a report that included its calls to action. And those are instructions to guide governments, communities, and faith groups down the road to reconciliation. CBC's Beyond 94 is an interactive website that monitors the progress of that journey. It's created by the CBC Indigenous Unit, and it allows participants to track outcomes on the calls to action, learn more about residential schools that operated near their communities, maybe because there is an interactive map, and discover concrete examples of how Indigenous and non-Indigenous Canadians can work together. The project is a living resource, so it's continuously updated, and I encourage you all to take a look, stay informed, and remain mindful of the various ways that you, your community, and your local decision makers can contribute to completing these calls to action. To kick us off, I'm actually going to kick us off with this icebreaker question. So we're going to do this in the format of a chat bomb. In a word or two, I'd like for you to share with us what comes to mind when you hear the words circular economy. So I'm going to give you all a second to put an answer in the chat, but before you press send, we're all going to send it in together, and I'm going to count us down. So if you can all take a moment, just you hear the word circular economy, what comes to mind? And I'll give you a minute. I'll try not to rush you. Okay, so I'm going to say, oh, wait. Okay, no, I've got some people behind the scenes filling in words for themselves and they're giving me shaking no. So I'm going to guess that back home, you're also thinking, no, Alex, not yet. And again, we'll send them all together so that everybody's answers populate the screen and we just have a whole list of answers. Yeah. All right. Okay. I think we might be good to go. So I'm going to count us down. 3, 2, 1, press enter. Oh, that's so cool to see. Like just having answers pop up all at once makes us feel like we're really busy. Makes us feel like we got way more people here. Awesome. So I don't know, Dave, do you want to read out a couple? Did any stick out to you? I can pass over the mic. You can read out a couple.
Hi, I'm Dave off to the side here. I am going to read out a couple. We have one here. I really like this one from Tammy. Like a circle, no beginning, no end. Really highlights what the economy is here in this situation. And of course, we have one from Jessica, reusing materials and preventing them from ending up in the landfill or incinerated. And that's what it's all about, right? This landfill diversion. Diverting products from landfill where it then does decompose and create this carbon gas. So we see a lot of projects that divert from landfill, and that amount of landfill diversion is equally calculatable and measurable. So I really like that answer. Those are some of the couple of ones.
Great. Well, thank you. And thank you everybody at home for entertaining me or just giving me that little bit of confidence that I know you're all watching there at the beginning of the presentation and paying attention. To pursue circular economy practices means reimagining our traditional linear economic systems to squash those norms around take, make, waste in business and minimize the use of resources, inputs, and the creation of waste or pollution and emissions, and really close that loop that we've been talking about. It's been a bit of an ongoing theme today. And this process typically involves the sharing, leasing, reuse, repair, refurbishing, and recycling of existing materials and products within a system for as long as possible and as much as possible. Now, on September 13th to 15th, we at Green Economy North were invited to attend the World Circular Economy Forum to hear about the world's leading circular economy solutions from business leaders, policymakers, and experts around the world. And co-organized by the Government of Canada and the Finnish Innovation Fund Citra, the World Circular Economy Forum was hosted virtually for the first time in North America in Toronto. And the organizers of this important event agreed to allow Green Economy North to attend for free. And we got to see a few familiar faces on the participant list. And I think 1 or 2 of you might still be attending today. You might have rejoined us this afternoon. So we even got to see a familiar face present during the 3-day event. Simon Blakely, our program director, got to pitch to a worldwide audience and share ways in which Rethink Green is accelerating circular solutions in Northern Ontario. The event was broadcasted live, approaching 9,000 people across 160 countries. And since the event took place, we have maintained ties with our newfound friends, Nordic friends. Northern Ontario has so many similar characteristics to the northern countries in terms of geography, climate, weather, and demographics. So it's imperative that we take such opportunities to engage with other countries, provinces, businesses, organizations who are already doing great work to learn from their experience and discover how we can all benefit from making the transition to a low carbon circular economy. At the forum, we heard from a rich array of voices and various experts from all around the world about research and ongoing initiatives and actions. We got to hear about what works, what's challenging, where there's room to grow, and how we can all work together to transform our economies to uphold and support environmentally just and equitable futures for all. One of the more formidable updates that we learned was, according to the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, that population and economic growth are currently on track to double global material consumption by 2060. And according to the International Resource Panel, resource extraction and processing is causing about 90% of biodiversity loss worldwide and approximately half of our climate change impacts. So the knowledge shared at the forum was diverse, but the overarching sentiment and takeaway was it was clear and unquestionable. Adopting circular economy practices minimizes and minimizing resource inputs and bettering the reliability and life cycle of our products and services presents not only an opportunity to address the triple planetary crisis of pollution, climate change, and biodiversity loss, but it's also a necessity to ensure the well-being of our triple bottom lines, people, planet, and profit for generations to come. Now, this concept or emphasis on circularity, I want to emphasize, is not new. Indigenous communities across North America and beyond have been practicing principles of circularity, including regeneration and reciprocity, since time immemorial. The kayak, which we learned about this at the World Circular Economy Forum, or the Hayak, is just one simple example of this that Lisa Perkwalik from Inuit Circumpolar Council Canada shared with us at the World Circular Economy Forum. And here's a quote: "Just as it was and remains an important means for transport for purposes ranging from hunting and socializing, it makes incredible use of many local materials and all types of origin to make something so useful where there might have otherwise been waste." And this includes the waterproof shell was made of seal skin, and the weight-bearing structure was made of driftwood or wood that was obtained through southern trade. The construction of the Hayak was a means of transmitting and sharing knowledge, which we all get to do today. Congratulations, you're participating in the circular economy. And once the Hayak reached its end of life, as it deteriorated, all that was spent on it was either recycled or went back to the elements by means of biodegradation. Now, I want to reemphasize that this idea that all materials can be used and that nothing is wasted is essentially the foundational tenet of the circular economy. And every point in a product's life cycle, what would be understood as waste in one context is considered valuable material in another. And for the last 300 years, however, those traditional circular economies have been replaced by high waste cost supply chains, where Inuit communities now are dependent on an Arctic shipping fleet to import. And as a result of the wage economy and the supply chain, there's been a high increase of waste. And further, the Arctic also lacks areas to properly dispose or reuse this waste. And this leaves Inuit communities, along with countless communities now facing the complex and difficult realities of our wasteful linear systems, to ask, how can we return to circularity, or how can we circle back, right? And to answer this question and identify opportunities for potential pathways to circularity, we need to take a step back and look at our technical and biological material supply chains at a systemic level. So most, if not all, product life cycles can look a little bit like this. And pay attention, because I might just quiz you on this later. We have the acquisition of raw materials, their design, manufacturing or production, their transportation and distribution, their consumption and use, and then ultimately their end of life. And similarly, biological materials are farmed or collected and then processed and transported, reaching the consumer. And once consumed, that material can be used to create biogas or biochemicals or be composted. But in circular economy, nothing goes to waste. And so it starts to look a bit like this. And so the idea is to eradicate the wasteful weak links, if you will, within this should-be circular system. And often when people first learn about the circular economy, they think that the only opportunity for closing the gap is recycling. And I've got the little arrow there, the step that collects and transforms what would be waste back into the first phase. And they're not wrong. Recycling does play a big role, but discussions around the circular economy often emphasize, they do often emphasize the cradle to cradle catchphrase. So you're not wrong, but what people don't realize is that every single node in this system presents an opportunity for improvement and circularity. Rethinking or reimagining a product's life cycle and the components at each and every node is what ensures the most circularity. Whether it's refusing to use the same harmful materials and choosing better alternatives, adjusting a product's design, or reducing the material intensity of a product, reusing, repairing, refurbishing products after use, or strengthening recycling and repurposing techniques and strategies, the possibilities for improvement are endless within any system. And in this presentation, I hope to outline both existing and novel opportunities for circularity that not only help the environment, but also perhaps build capital within a variety of industries and sectors. So as a starting point, we can think of two simple concepts as stepping off points to change. The first of which is substitution, which can be described as the use of different resources or techniques to achieve the same goal. This can be as simple as thinking about what materials might be less resource intensive, or say, for example, the world is running out of lithium, and unless we can recycle lithium batteries more efficiently, sodium ion batteries might be a suitable option for car manufacturers to consider in the future. We can also make substitutions in the design of products so that the metals, polymers, and alloys maintain their quality and stay somewhat intact so that they can be useful beyond their shelf life as individual products later. And imagining the goods of today being designed to be easily and reassembled so that the materials used also function as potential resources for tomorrow. And dematerialization is another option where one can use less of a resource to serve the same economic function. So in this way, we can design products that require less energy, or we can choose transportation options that we know will emit less carbon. And again, I'm connecting back to all these great conversations that we've had throughout today. And these ideas that we could design products to come back to their makers, their technical materials be reused, or their biological parts increasing value, like let's say in agriculture using manure which is waste, for fertilizer or energy, for example. Or even imagining that these products could be made and transported using renewable energy is just what circularity is all about. And instead of throwing away and replacing, we've become used to that a little bit. We could adopt a return and renew culture, and where products and components are designed to be disassembled and regenerated. So one solution may be to rethink the way that we view ownership. What if we never actually owned our technologies, we simply license them from the manufacturers? An example, which I learned about recently, was Interface is the world's largest designer and maker of commercial modular carpet. And they don't sell carpet anymore. Their customers buy the service of having carpet on the floor. Interface is in charge of maintaining and repairing the carpet. And they do that very efficiently because it's their specialty and they control the entire process. They also use tiles that can be replaced one at a time. So only the spots that need replacing get ripped up and renewed. And the old tiles will go back to the factory, be recycled, where the new tiles are made with 98% recycled or bio-based content. Like, what the heck? How is that for dematerialization? And you might be thinking, Alex, what a wacky idea, like to rethink ownership. And Dave's rolling his eyes at me, but but you might already be participating in services like this. Most homeowners in Ontario currently rent their water heaters from Direct Energy or Reliance Home Comfort for a monthly fee. And if you are one of those people, you likely are, you might be thinking you're just paying for the convenient billing, the same day service if you have problems, no charge for parts and labor, and the peace of mind. But lo and behold, you are actually participating in the circular economy. Businesses who provide products as a service are incentivized also to ensure and invest in the long-term durability and reliability of a product to save costs. So this reduces the number of water heaters thrown away and bought. It improves the use intensity of each individual water heater. It extends their lifespan, encourages design for upgradability and maintenance. And perhaps even, maybe this doesn't apply for water heaters so much, but it also incentivizes for software compatibility. And in this way, we kicking the water heater to the curb when it fails on us to the curb. So for Green Economy North and Smart Green Community members, pursuing circular economy initiatives means support with restructuring your material and waste systems to enable as much maintenance, reuse, refurbishment, and recycling as much as possible. And doing this not only reduces your footprint, it helps us protect the planet, but it also introducing more circular practices within your business kickstarts a continuous flow of technical and biological materials that other opportunities can help you realize meaningful and sustainable economic growth. So okay, I get it, Alex. Like, I know what circularity is. You've done it. What might that look like for Green Economy North and Smart Green Community members? Well, every year, millions of pieces of secondhand furniture go to waste, which is why IKEA is closing the loop by buying back used IKEA furniture to give chairs, shelves, and chests of drawers as many lives as possible. So the company is incentivizing IKEA family members to recirculate and redecorate. And IKEA furniture owners can log in to their account, upload a couple pictures of the old furniture, and once they're assessed and approved, they can bring them to the store and receive in-store credit for them. In the financial year of 2019, IKEA successfully gave 47 million products a second life, and 38 million products were resold through the as-is specialty shop, and more than 9 million products have been repacked and returned to the shelf. Oleo does a similar thing to tackle food waste by facilitating relationships of sharing amongst neighbors. So this isn't so much about creating bit profit, but this is about community care. Their app helps people share food that would otherwise go in the bin through their free app, where people can list their unwanted produce or leftovers and neighbors nearby can request and pick it up. I could just put it on the app and Dave sees it the same day and says, you know what, I haven't had dinner yet. Alex's supper looked good, so I might just sign up for that. In Toronto, we've got Free Geek, which is a technology company. And these guys presented at the World Circular Economy Forum as well. And they are a technology reuse social enterprise providing low-cost computers, offering green solutions to unwanted or discarded end-of-life technology. And they work with partners to increase digital inclusion in Toronto. As a result, Free Geek enables options for access to technology that reflect people's ability to pay, a collective commitment to digital inclusion, and the planet's well-being. Now, Patagonia is a brand highly committed to smarter consumption. And similarly to IKEA, they are offering a repair and return service. They've been doing that for quite a while, but recently launched a new website called Wornwear. I don't know if any of you at home have Patagonia gear, but this might be helpful. Wornwear is a platform where people can buy used Patagonia gear for cheaper, request and receive repair or care, or even trade their used or no longer worn items. Patagonia will wash and restore and resell the items on Wornwear, and the person who trades it in gets Wornwear credit so they can go on the platform and buy something that they are more likely to wear and to love. And here, Patagonia is facilitating those connections again that reduce immediate waste and allow for one person's trash to become another person's treasure. Now, I'm going to invite my friend Rebecca to our executive director, and we're going to all participate in a little polling activity just to get your thoughts on some things here. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, Alex. Good.
Oh, it's nice to have somebody else behind this desk with me. So thank you for joining.
Of course.
All right. So I'm going to pull up this diagram here, and I'm going to see, hopefully we can get that poll activated for everybody else. But what I'd like to know is, and there are no wrong answers. So in which node of the circular economy do you think the Patagonia Wornwear most predominantly interferes or innovates in the circular economy? Now I'm going to make this diagram a little bit bigger for you here, Rebecca, so you can also participate.
Yeah.
So it could be anywhere in this diagram. We've got acquisition of raw materials, we've got design, production and retransformation, transportation and distribution, consumption and use, collection and recycling, and end-of-life treatment.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Interesting. The first thing that came to mind for me was actually the refuse part, the very beginning of that chain, because by not buying a new item, you're refusing to just take things that are new and starting that cycle. So if Patagonia is taking less new material to make their clothing, they're able to sell more used stuff. That means that's going to reduce the amount of new material they're going to need in their processing.
Yeah, and it's you're right. And it's funny because I would have also said maybe something different. I would have said that definitely interferes most in the circle of like reuse and how we consume and use products, because my sweater gets reused because I ensure that it gets a new home right away before it goes through another process or through the circle once more.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna end the poll here. I see some of you have participated, and we're gonna share the results. And funnily enough, there are multiple answers. And like I said, there are no wrong answers because, again, one like element of introducing some kind of circular initiative can have impacts through the whole system, right? Like, because you've maybe bought through this platform, you're reusing one item, but then you also stop new materials be used. So in a way, both Rebecca and I were right. No, so there are no wrong answers.
She doesn't have to say that just because I'm wrong.
Rebecca was right. Now, here we go. We've got another example here. I'm just gonna open this up. So I watched this segment on BBC News this week, and I just had to share it. It's pretty funny. Wyke Farms is a widely popular dairy farm from Somerset, UK, and it's leading the way to net zero farming. Their goal is to create a sustainable working farm, harnessing our natural resources to source their electricity and gas, and from both solar and biogas generated from their farm and dairy waste. They've come to generate all of their own electricity and gas, and they're sending back enough energy into the grid to power 6,000 nearby homes.
Wow.
And are on track to being net zero within the next couple of years. And, you know, I've never been to the dairy farm myself, but from the documentary, you can tell that when you visit a dairy farm, normally they usually show you young cattle and perhaps some fancy new milking parlors. But Mr. Cloutier of Wyke Farms starts his tour with the slurry tank, which is a large swirling pool of brown cow poop and dairy waste and water, and he loves it. And with the use of anaerobic digesters, Wyke Farms transforms the farm and dairy waste into methane gas or energy.
Amazing.
Yeah, right. And it's cool that now they've gotten to a point where they've totally, like, they're almost entirely net zero all on their own because of these systems that they've put in place within their farm. And so I'm going to hand it over to you again. We've got another poll coming your way, and I'm going to ask you, where in the circle, again, there are no answers, no wrong answers. There are plenty of answers. And you can let us know, what do you think? Where in the circle do you think that the Wyke Farm slurry tank that produces their own energy most interferes with the circle? Rebecca, I'll let you, I'm going to sip on my water and I'll let Rebecca give her 2 cents.
So I sort of see it in the design phase, potentially, just thinking about biogas and how that would displace. Maybe I'm in the wrong step there, but being able to use. All right, there's no wrong answers. There we go. I'm just thinking about the potential of biogas to replace a fossil fuel that you'd normally be needing to use in your machinery. I think part of the challenges with places like farms, places like mines, industrial places where you're actually needing a source of what is currently used as petroleum products. What do you do? And biogas is actually a really great answer to that, because it's not using a fossil fuel and it can basically replace something that is a fossil fuel without having to. I mean, it'd be great if everything could be electrified and whatnot, but in the meantime, a more realistic solution could be a biogas solution. It's an intermediate step to getting to a completely sustainable solution.
And Dave said something about that earlier today, being like, you can't just turn the taps off. There's definitely some stages that take place in between there.
Yeah, and just getting started and doing something, right? If you can get it's a matter of like, as long as the thing you're moving to is better than the thing you're leaving, you're making progress. You don't have to go from something that's completely unsustainable to the absolutely most sustainable option you could possibly do. As long as you're moving along in the right direction, it's you're getting somewhere.
Yeah. I'm gonna end the poll and I'm gonna share the results with you, because again, I told you there's no wrong answers, because again, any change can have an impact anywhere. And funnily enough, Rebecca just gave us this whole lens of seeing the solution as a solution in design. But again, you're not wrong. It does change. It is production and retransformation in producing energy from waste. You're right. And consumption and use, we stop the consumption of what we would have consumed, which was maybe like oil and gas from elsewhere, and instead we're consuming our own, which is great. And then recycling and end of use, you're right. We're recycling cow poop and putting it through an end of life treatment to create methane gas, right? Very cool. All right, I have one more for you. And this one's also pretty cool. So reconsidering material composition and processing options at end of use to optimize waste as a resource is a possibility for so many sectors and industries. For example, asphalt is a major contributor to construction and demolition waste across Canada. And this poses a significant circular opportunity, as used asphalt can be used as aggregate or reprocessed into new asphalt, diverting thousands of tons of waste from entering landfills. And using reclaimed asphalt in asphalt production is the norm for manufacturers across Canada. But as of right now, the estimated average is about 10% of recycled asphalt in pavement. And increasing that content in roads presents significant benefits like diverting waste, reducing transportation-related greenhouse gas emissions from transfer of recycled asphalt to the landfill, which is and we got to think about all those in-between steps, right? There's also preserving the natural resources at local quarries, meeting government sustainability and environmental targets, of course, and then encouraging a circular economy and construction on the broad scale as well. And in November 2020, Lafarge Canada, the National Zero Waste Council, and the City of Richmond initiated a pilot project in the City of Richmond to test the performance of recycled asphalt by committing to document its performance through the life cycle by putting asphalt that contains 40% recycled asphalt in the material. And then they're evaluating that annually. And actually, they've put a whole toolkit in case at home you're like, wow, this is really interesting. I'd love to present this to my city council to do, which I highly recommend. It doesn't hurt, worth a shot. If you're feeling inspired, you could do that. And they have a toolkit online. And that's where this image came from the toolkit. And so again, we're going to do a poll, and you're going to tell me which you think, in which node, increasing the asphalt content in the pavement that's recycled, where that interferes most. And you might pick the easiest option, but I'd be interested to hear you tell me what you think
about a different one. I think that's a really interesting example for Sudbury, particularly considering how much time and amount of our city budget goes towards filling up potholes with asphalt. I know that I live out in Wanapitei, and when I do drive through that small highway, and it seems like every summer there's people out there with like their little fillers filling it in with asphalt. And it'd be really cool to see if that using it and more recycled would be really, really cool. I think potentially on collection there would be an interesting option, because it's like, okay, how do we actually get the asphalt that has, if we're going to be ripping up the road, where do we do with that instead of just sort of trucking it out? How do we collect that in a way that it's more reusable? Something that sort of comes to mind is like something like paper recycling, which used to be more challenging, but now everybody just knows how to recycle paper, and then you have that source of recycled material to make your 100% recycled paper. And I think the technology for that has been improving, so that it used to be like, okay, this is 10% recycled, and now it's 50% recycled, and now it's 100% recycled. And it'd be nice to see that if they could, improve the technology for recapturing that and move it forward for asphalt, so you could get a higher and higher percentage of recycling in that product too.
You're right. 100% asphalt would be great. When you say 100%, 40% sounds lame. But,
but it's better than what is it normally? 5 is like
10% is the estimated average.
10% is the average. So I mean, that's still that's 30% higher, right? It's again moving in the right direction.
Every little bit moving in the right direction counts,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Well, that was it. You've all passed. Nobody got any answers wrong, as Rebecca showed. You might have all put, look, we've got so many different answers here. And Rebecca said collection, and none of you picked collection. So either Rebecca's wrong or you're all wrong, or everybody's right. Everybody's right. Thank you, Rebecca.
Oh, thanks, Alex.
We just have a little bit more. So I'm gonna just close this poll here. There we go. Great. So if any other businesses or communities that are taking on circular practices come to mind, drop them in the chat. Let us know. I'm sure that the rest of our participants would love to hear about it. If your business is doing something, let us know, because we'd love to, maybe when I do this presentation next time, I could add you to my examples. Circularity makes for an undeniable strong business case as well, right? So circular efficiencies that reduce deforestation, energy, water use, they create value for shareholders, stakeholders, and customers alike, and opportunities for symbiotic relationships and partnerships where materials, energy, and information circulate between companies can allow one business's trash to become another's treasure, producing a win-win-win for both businesses and the environment, which is the most important. And you might be thinking, okay, well, what do we do? How do we go? Like, how do we take these next steps? And according to the Circularity Gap Report, it's published by Circle Economy, which is a non-for-profit, and they gave us these 4 steps to bridging and the circularity gap through leadership and action everywhere. And this was presented at the World Circular Economy Forum as well. So the first is to develop decision metrics and a measurement framework. And Judy told us all about how important it is to measure our impact, right? And this will encourage further goal setting, evaluations, and peer review, which will in turn serve as a benchmark performance and track progress against such longer term global ambitions as the Paris targets and the Sustainable Development Goals and everything that we're talking about at COP26 right now. And the second is to facilitate peer-to-peer learning and knowledge transfer, which is what we're doing today. And that's going to accelerate international or cross-provincial dissemination of effective circular economy policies and practices, fostering a collaborative ethos, right? And which helps us all grow and understand and speed up intake or uptake. Another is to build a coalition for action that is both diverse and inclusive. And that's everything that Rethink Green is all about. And this will bring together front-running businesses, governments, NGOs, and academics, hopefully who are all in our participants list right now, and maybe message each other, make connections. Does anybody you want to partner up with? Feel free to shoot them a message. That's what we're doing here. We're connecting. Oh, and Simon's in there too. And Simon just gave me a wave. He said, please call me. And the last one is translating those global trends, right, that we hear about at COP26 into national, regional, and, Northern Ontario pathways. And that will enable all of us to formulate practical strategies. Which brings me to my next and almost last slide. This is my last section. Thank you for hanging in there. Well, our last one, which we heard from Split Rail Brewing today. And I really, this is one example. We talked a little bit about circular economy, but I want to really reel it in here. Barbara was talking about they touched on, the sending of grains to farms, right? And Split Rail has expanded its product line further, experimenting with craft sodas and made exclusively from maple syrup and berries sourced from the island, which is the hawberry, which is a native species that is treasured by Indigenous communities for its medicinal properties. And Green Economy North has previously supported Split Rail in accessing funding under the Government of Canada's Climate Action Incentive Fund. And this helped them purchase an energy efficient canning line to eliminate the transportation costs associated with bringing a mobile canning line from Toronto, nearly 600 kilometers away. And the business is currently working on eliminating waste. And this is a Northern Ontario example of circular economy in action. They're reducing the amount of grain left over from brewing processes and delivering spent grain to local farmers or for feeding livestock, sorry. And that's an opportunity for all brewers across the province. And this is one more example. We've got the Green Economy Canada partnership with HP Canada, and they launched its two-part sustainable IT procurement project in 2020. And the project is founded on the premise that shifting towards a circular economy, one that eliminates waste and pollution, keeps products and materials in use and regenerates natural systems. And that's going to be crucial in realizing Canada's goal of achieving net zero by 2050. The project presents an opportunity for public organizations to lead the transition towards a circular economy while reducing their GHG emissions. The first part of the pilot focused on developing participants' awareness of the impact of sustainable procurement and how IT procurement practices can be leveraged to achieve sustainability goals. Through the use of self-assessment tool, participants evaluated their current sustainable IT and procurement practices and identified opportunities for advancement. Participants were then provided with tools to conduct market research on vendor readiness, to meet sustainability criteria, and to incorporate and score meaningful sustainability criteria in the purchasing process. Lastly, participants were then guided to create an action plan, and many have started to take action to green their IT practices, including one participant who incorporated sustainability criteria into a recent RFP, and another who's looking at how to influence group buying mandates. I'm going to end the presentation here, but there's so much more, and we get to hear from them actually up next, because we have our Canadian Made Solutions panel, and we're going to hear from 3 rock star companies in Canada who are leading the conversation in circular solutions in their respective fields. I thank you so much for listening. And I don't know how much time, how was that for time? Do I have, I'm 2 minutes left. I was a little too speedy, 2 minutes. Anyways, I'm going to hand it back to Dave, and he's going to introduce us and get us ready for our next panel.